Hello and welcome. Today's topic is going to be session zero, the session and the stuff you do before you actually start a campaign. But first, let's get into the map that I'm making. Down over here, or maybe it's over there, I don't know. You'll see that I am actually taking one of my previously made maps. It's the roadside encounter map that I used, and I am making a night version because I realized my players are probably going to get an encounter at night. Usually you have someone stay up for watch, and then sometimes something comes along at night and there's a cool night combat scene and all that. It's kind of fun because they're scrambling. A lot of them don't have their armor on, so it adds a little bit of danger, a little bit of extra. I've never made a night map before, so I apologize if it doesn't look super great. But I'm trying, and there's a lot of experimenting that you'll see below, trying different colors and different things. So take it easy on me. Anyway, today's topic, session zero. The three big parts of a session zero are the campaign expectations, the table expectations, and uh, the making the characters and the setting itself. Um, so I usually begin completely fresh. Once I've got my players, once I have my people that actually want to play, I start with a survey. I am a teacher. I was a teacher, so I have that kind of ingrained into me, into my blood, that I use surveys, and so I'll use Google Quiz or Google Surveys. I forget what they're called, and I use that to just sort of see what my players are thinking. How lawful versus how chaotic do they want to be? How good versus evil. A lot more in depth than that. Do they want a railroad campaign, which some people like doing, right? Or do they want a wide open sandbox where they can do whatever they want? Do they want a sort of pirate adventure, or do they want more of like a political espionage type of thing? I have a lot of questions, and maybe I'll actually link it below, so you can actually see what my survey is. And if you want to take it, go ahead. I've got sort of a public one that I just collect people's answers on whenever I happen to post it. So it's always interesting to see. So I use that, and then I usually create a document with my homebrew rules, my homebrew things. This is to just help players know that I, the dungeon master, might have things that I do differently than other dungeon masters. Some of them are rules that I've taken, like I use Matt Mercer's rule when it comes to casting spells, two spells in one turn. I use sometimes homebrew items, like I have a buckler shield that I use, which is just a smaller shield, and it's sort of got special features and special different things about it. Um, a lot of different things like that. Then you need to sit down with your players. You need to talk about expectations at the table. This depends a lot on your player group. I have been a dungeon master for students before, middle school boys and girls. So I had to very much nail down the expectations of, like, no, you cannot just go run off and kill random people because you'll go to jail. And yeah, that's kind of fun, but then it ends up being a sour spot. You can't just steal from your party members because, again, they'll kill you. They'll bring you to the guards. That actually did happen to a student because he did not listen to that. And his character ended up going to jail, and they just left him behind because the group was like, "Nah, that guy's a jerk. He steals our stuff. He's always doing his own thing. We're not gonna go rescue him. No reason to." So talking about uh, those behaviors and what you think that what everybody agrees upon that behavior should be like at the table. And then you can get more into character building and other things like that. Character building is probably what most people consider their session zero. And there's two main philosophies. Some people like to just lay out the ground rules for their characters and show off the setting, and then people come to the first session with their characters built and nobody has met each other yet. That's perfectly fine and works well. The other main way is that you build your characters at the table with each other. There are positive and negatives to both. If you build the characters beforehand and then come to the first session with your characters, it's kind of fun because then it's like, ooh, I wonder what everybody else is playing. I'm curious, and it helps, especially if your characters don't know each other very well or at all. That helps sort of weave that in naturally. But it does make it a little bit harder to make a party that gels well and a party that has interesting conflicts but not game breaking conflicts where you have uh, the classic example of like a very chaotic evil rogue and a very lawful good paladin, right? That's just a recipe for disaster. And it can be a fun disaster at times, but it's kind of game breaking. So The benefits, of course, then to doing it in person is that you get to kind of iron those details out, help make reasons that your characters' backstories will kind of weave together. I prefer doing this because I feel like it really helps, like I said, your backstories. That kind of you can make them gel together. They can all be very different. Like my party currently that I'm DMing for, they all have very different motives, very different goals, very different backstories, but they are all we kind of made it where they're all going the same direction and they're all in general going for the same thing, which is the rebellions up in the northern areas of my continent, my country, Nosfari. Um, and then obviously the downsides of that is that there's no surprise there. There's not as much hidden element. Um, it also means that you have to go later on then and make the more in-depth parts, and there's a little bit less surprise there, but kind of knows. And then there's almost like feeling like, oh well, we have to work together because we're a group. But I feel like that's already inherent to D&D as it is. You're all at the table to have fun. And all of this should be a discussion. It's not necessarily the dungeon master saying how it is. Because, yes, the dungeon master is the law of the land, but at the same time, the dungeon master also is another player at the table with the other players. So everybody should be in agreement upon it, and it should be an open discussion. It should be the same thing for the rules, same thing for the behavior at the table. All of that should be in discussion. I asked my players, I said, hey, what do we want to do with party gold? Because I know some people like to have a party fund and everybody just splits money evenly and one extra share goes to the party fund. And that pays for when the party wants to eat something, when they want to stay somewhere, or if there's a big item that the party wants. In a campaign that I'm a player in, we bought our half-orc barbarian a super expensive hammer, using all the party fund and even some of our own money, because we thought that's a really good item and it's going to benefit all of us if our barbarian is smashing stuff even better. So I asked my party that question, right? We had a discussion about what people like, what people don't like. We also had discussion about the setting, right? I gave them three big options because I did want to plan ahead a little bit. I didn't want to build the world right there at the table because I knew in 1 week after session 0 we were going to be doing session 1, and that's, I mean, a week is a lot of time, but it's also not that much if I want to build a really in-depth world. And so I had to talk to my players, and I, beforehand, had made three very basic ideas for settings and their central conflicts. And it was basically just three countries. And I said, okay, which one of these and their central conflict sounds most interesting? And the group ended up choosing, and so they decided that Nosfari had the most interesting conflict to them, and it had the most interesting setting going on, and that's what they decided. And so I said, okay, great, sounds good. And then I built upon that. So allowing your players to contribute to that, and you as a DM also contributing, is very important. That's pretty much everything that's in a session 0. To recap on my random rambling here and cuts and mess, session 0 is all about setting the expectations of player and dungeon master behavior. It's all about establishing any homebrew rules or special setting specifics. Like, for example, in my country, magic is banned in this country of Nosfari. And then is also about creating characters and making backstories that interweave together, and that allow your players to have a reason to stick together and start a good trajectory for where the party is going to go. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I know everybody asks you to do that, but just, do it. Why not? It could be good. I'll see you all later, and have a very good rest of your night. Peace out.